It's the week of the draft. Let's go ahead and redraft the first round of the 2003 NFL Draft. At number one, the Cardinals would draft Carson Palmer. Palmer definitely worthy of being the number one pick here again. However, I mean, John Kitna's there. He's good enough for 1 year. You can always wait till 04. You could get Matt Shaw, Big Ben, Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers. Who knows? Terrell Suggs, just a complete bully. You're telling me that you can steal him from the Ravens, get somebody who, in my opinion, should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer. No question, you're going to grab the Defensive Player of the Year award winner. I have no problem if you were to do Carson Palmer again. Really, Tony Romo, too. In fact, number two, we are going to have Carson Palmer go to the Lions. They would draft Charlie Rogers out of Michigan State, who never panned out. Palmer, though, I feel like his whole career was justified from what he did in Arizona. He was never the problem. All of a sudden, you give him a good offensive mind, some decent protection, half of a running game, and a couple good receivers. All of a sudden, this guy's an MVP candidate. Carson Palmer, he's like the epitome of my Hall of Very Good. Not going to be a Hall of Famer, but just a great quarterback. He goes number two to Detroit. At number three, the Texans are ecstatic that they're able to grab franchise legend Andre Johnson once again. Never draft a safety at the fourth overall pick. Unless his name is Troy Polamalu, he goes to the Jets. To be honest, I don't love what I'm doing here. I drafted a safety at 4. Now I'm going to draft a tight end at 5 with Tony Romo, a quarterback on the board. Listen, Dallas has Bledsoe. Jason Witten has to be a Cowboy. He has to be a Cowboy. I get it. It makes zero sense having a safety and a tight end go in the top 5 when quarterback's available. There's a couple tackles, some edge rushers, but these guys are Hall of Famers. We're going to make exceptions. At 6, instead of the Saints going with Aaron Banks, they're going to go ahead and draft the Eastern Illinois kid in Tony Romo. The Jaguars have a great interior defensive line at this time period. Let's go ahead and give them a fringe Hall of Fame edge rusher, somebody who I hope gets in eventually, in Robert Mathis. Another guy. That's kind of a trend. You can steal a division rival star player. You're going to go ahead and do it. We saw it earlier with Terrell Suggs. Now we're seeing it with Robert Mathis. The Panthers are going to redo this pick. They're going to go back to Jordan Gross. Jordan Gross, just absolute solid, absolute professional during his 11-year career. The Vikings are also going to do it back with Kevin Williams. This guy was a pass rushing D tackle before it was cool to be a pass rushing D tackle. Brian Billick and the Ravens are then going to go get a playmaker in the back end in Peanut Tillman. Louisiana Lafayette. We might be coming back to them. As crazy as that sounds, yes, 2 Louisiana Lafayette players in the same draft class in the first round. Just wait. At 11, the Seahawks would go Marcus Trufant. Definitely a good player, but I do prefer Asante Samuel's playmaking ability. Mark Bulger's getting another weapon. At this point, you still have Marshall Faulk, Isaac Bruce, and Torrey Holt there. Let's get him the future Hall of Fame tight end in Antonio Gates. The Patriots are going to get Tom Brady, a wide receiver, see if we can start to induce that change from a defensive dynasty to an offensive one, maybe even a year or two sooner. Anquan Bolden, stud, offensive rookie of the year this year. The Bears would grab Lance Briggs later on in this draft. Let's just go ahead and get him in Chicago right now. Probably a little bit high for Dallas Clark, especially with 2 tight ends already off the board. However, him going to Philly intrigues me. I did this with Devin Hester in that 2006 redraft. I said, who knows, maybe Andy Reid can unlock some Tyreek Hill-esque stuff earlier on. What if he could do the same with Dallas Clark? What if this guy can be the Travis Kelce in his Eagles offense? Maybe not, but Dallas Clark was a heck of a player. I'm intrigued by the fit. I like it. Dallas Clark heads to Philly. At 15, the Steelers can't grab Troy Polamalu, but they can grab Ike Taylor. Ike Taylor's an interesting experiment. This guy was a great blend of speed, athleticism, size. I'm interested to see how much more his legacy would have grown if the guy had a pair of hands. He had the worst hands that I've ever seen a football player have. Terrible. This guy was a true lockdown corner. So a true lockdown corner with 2 Super Bowl wins. If he can get interceptions now by actually catching the football, this guy's legacy could be a lot higher. I don't think people realize how good Ike Taylor is. The Steelers will take it. Obviously, you prefer Troy, but Ike Taylor's a solid consolation prize. Ike Taylor, also the Louisiana Lafayette player that I was talking about. So, yeah, him and Peanut Tillman in the same secondary. Wherever Louisiana Lafayette was at that point, whether they were Sunbelt or somewhere else, that's a pretty darn good secondary. Let's get the Cardinals' Oisi Umenora. Once again, talk about teammates in the Sunbelt. That means he was playing with DeMarcus Ware. Those two edge rushers on Troy, are you kidding me? Ridiculous. The Cardinals are picking back-to-back. You could go Calvin Pace. I don't know if we're going to see him later. Definitely a guy who's worthy of a late first-round pick in this redraft. But I want to get a running back so we don't have to do the whole Emmitt Smith dance in 2004. Willis McGahee, he had a very solid career. With the Ravens' second first-round pick, they would go Kyle Baller. Never really panned out. Let's go ahead and get him a great center in Dan Coppin. The Broncos will then grab David Deal, the guy who had a solid decade career with the New York Football Giants. Let's grab the Browns, a great cornerback in Terrence Newman. This guy played forever, man. Was a productive cornerback at age 38 for the Vikings. He heads to Cleveland. The Bears would grab quarterback Rex Grossman. He took them to a Super Bowl, but by take, I mean he was just the quarterback on that team. He didn't take them anywhere. Already have Lance Briggs back. Let's add to the defense once again. There are a lot of great cornerbacks. I mean, we've already had a handful go off the board. Nnamdi Asomugha might have the highest peak out of the cornerbacks. He also probably has the shortest peak out of all the cornerbacks that we have taken and that are still on the board. We'll go ahead and send him to Chicago. Lovie Smith can work with him once Lovie Smith gets there. At this point, Lovie Smith's not there, but he will be. Get a shutdown cornerback. This guy was a stud. Only for a little bit, but when he was on, he was on. The Bills are going to go grab future receiving leader Brandon Lloyd. The Colts can't grab Dallas Clark, but we can grab them a great linebacker in E.J. Henderson. The Giants can't grab David Deal, but they can grab John Stinchcomb, who there's an argument was the better player. The 49ers will happily take Rashawn Mathis, who at some point, I'm telling you, this secondary class was ridiculous. The Chiefs would draft Larry Johnson. Not a bad pick, but I mean, you still have Priest Holmes there. We don't really need that. Let's go ahead and just grab Marcus Trufant, another cornerback. Let's get Aaron McNair, another wide receiver, Nate Burleson. The Packers are going to run it back with eventual Super Bowl champ Nick Barnett. The Chargers will go Pro Bowl guard and Wade Smith. All right, so the Raiders have back-to-back first-round picks here. One, because 31, they earned this pick. They were the Super Bowl runner-ups. And then they traded John Gruden, obviously. Tampa Bay won the Super Bowl, so they have pick 31 and 32. Let's go ahead and grab our final cornerback, Terrence McGee, another person who had a very short peak, but was pretty solid for Buffalo. He's going to be the guy instead of Nnamdi Asomugha because he's already gone. And then at 32, we will have them go ahead and grab Larry Johnson. I thought about Fred Jackson here. Fred Jackson, a little bit more of a receiver. Larry Johnson did not play nearly as long, but the peak was great. He has like a 1,700-yard season, I think, and a couple of 20-touchdown seasons. So he's going to head to Oakland at the time. Al Davis is going to love this guy.